Alright, as promised, here's a comparison of the Able Carry Max EDC in X-Pac and Ripstop nylon. So I've been using the Able Carry Max EDC in Ripstop nylon now for a couple months and I've been really happy with it. You can watch my initial review video where I go over all the features of this bag, which will also apply to the X-Pac version that we're going to look at today. And I'll also be making a video where I talk about my experience of the bag on my recent trip to Asia. So how do these two bags compare? Well, the only real difference is the fabric, but it's a little bit nuanced. On the Ripstop version, you get the same fabric all over the bag, including on the back panel and on the bottom of the bag. On the X-Pac version, you get the X-Pac fabric everywhere except for the back panel and the bottom panel of the bag, where instead you'll find a 1000D Cordura nylon. Now this Cordura feels stiffer than the Ripstop to me, and it doesn't feel as good to the touch, but that's something I can look past, and I'd assume that it's more durable at the end of the day. Now, aside from the look of the Cordura, which breaks up the otherwise very sleek aesthetic of the bag, the only other thing I don't like about it is that it's a dust and fur magnet. You see, we have a 3-pound Holland Lop at home. Well, she thinks she's a lot bigger. And despite our very best efforts at keeping the house clean and vacuuming all the time, I still find fur all over the place, like on my Max EDC, which has literally just been sitting here in my office. Now, this isn't a deal breaker. You can of course take a lint roller and just brush it off. But having used Cordura like this in the past, I have to imagine it's going to pick up a lot of dirt and dust everywhere, like on the floor of buses and planes. In comparison, my Max EDC and Ripstop nylon, which went all over the place with me in Asia, kept its clean appearance no matter where I set it down. And even if you do get some dirt on it, this Ripstop nylon wipes off really easily. So is it a deal breaker? Well, no, but it's just something to be aware of. Now, as far as weight goes on these two packs, after you remove the frame sheet from the back panel, which is exactly how I've been using the pack, you've got about 3.2 pounds on the Ripstop and about 3.3 pounds on the X-Pac. So not a great deal of difference, but there is one. And to save weight, I maintain that you don't need the back panel on this pack, as it's just so sturdy and comfortable to begin with, and offers such great support even when carrying relatively heavy loadouts. As far as looks go, this is of course highly subjective, but personally I love the look of the X-Pac, and I also like the look of the Ripstop. I'd say the X-Pac gives off more tech bro or tactical vibes, whereas the Ripstop looks just a little bit more professional, perhaps more traditional, which causes it to blend in a little bit more with the crowd. It's a personal choice, and I really don't think you can go wrong with either option here. I wish that Able Carry had extended the X-Pac all around the pack, the same way that they did on the Ripstop version, and I'm sure they had their reasons as to why, but I think an X-Pac all around would just look so much more sleek, the same way it does on the Everyday Plus. The X-Pac does sound a bit more crinkly than the Ripstop, but not enough that I'd make a decision on this alone. Everything else is exactly the same. The same great zippers, the hardware, the interior fabric, stretch mesh, and the rest. Oh, and by the way, if you're finding value from this video, then go ahead and give it a like. It really does help with the good old YouTube algorithm. And while you're here, consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, and you're interested in everyday carry gear, tech, travel, hiking, photography, and videography. Next, let's talk weather resistance. In my deep dive video on the Ripstop version, we saw water accumulating in the bag when I held it under the shower for just 20 to 30 seconds. And in this review, I mentioned that although I was confused as to how so much water was getting in through the seams of such a well-constructed bag, I didn't think this was a deal breaker, since all bags will show some water ingress at some point. But how does the X-Pac version fare? Well, let's find out. So there's just a couple drops of water in here. This is a pretty big improvement from what I remember. I used to see a bunch of water coming in here. I'm not seeing that, so that's exciting. Let's check inside here. No water. This is completely dry in here. Let's check the laptop compartment. No water in the laptop compartment either. How about this pocket? The secret pocket in the back. Hard to see, but it's completely dry in there. Laptop area admin pouch, completely dry. And remember when we did the test before with the Ripstop, the back panel made a lot of difference. So when we had the back panel in, far less water got in here than when we took the back panel out. So now I'm going to take out this foam panel and see if there's any difference. A little bit of water. Teaspoon, tablespoon, something like that? Hardly any. There's a little bit of water here, so that's probably where it's coming in, is on the seam. This is doing so much better than the Ripstop. Yep, so you can see where that seam is at the bottom. That is where everything's coming in, that and along the sides. So it seems that this Cordair is actually more water resistant than I initially thought. Let's take a look in the laptop compartment. So this is the laptop compartment. Of course, a critical compartment. This is amazing. This is completely dry. There's something about the fabric up here on top, or the way that it meets the seams with the zippers. I have no idea, because these zippers are identical as far as I can tell. And I didn't want to believe that it was just the face fabric here, but maybe it is. That's incredible. Was not expecting that result. I was expecting the exact same thing. So that kind of makes this a very easy decision here for myself. Let's check the laptop admin compartment as well. Since we're here, yep, completely dry. And again, this second round, that's without the back panel, which in the Ripstop was providing a lot of protection for us. Here's the back panel compartment. Completely dry. Oh yeah, I forgot to check this duffel bag compartment. Completely dry. Admin pouch inside the laptop compartment, bone dry. The side water bottle compartment, bone dry. Nothing in there. And we never checked the side pocket either. Side pocket is bone dry. Significant improvement compared to the Ripstop. I'm impressed. And once again, that is your main ingress point, is the seam here where it meets the back and the side. You can see the same thing on that side as well, kind of where all the stitching comes together. And that's still a little bit more water than I'd like to see, but would I trust this with my gear? Yeah, I think so. And wow, I was not expecting that big of a difference. X-Pac for the win. So I guess that decides it? Well, maybe not so fast. The more I think about it, the more I think that the seams on the back of the pack, where the water seems to be getting in, no pun intended, will be resting up against your back anyway while you have the pack on, and that might help mitigate water ingress to a great extent. But this remains to be seen in the real world, as I just haven't had a chance yet to have the pack on in a downpour. Both versions are great, and if you're going to be outside for just brief periods of time, maybe you're walking on campus from one class to another, or maybe you're just going from the car or bus between work and a few coffee stops in between and the gym, then I wouldn't worry too much about either version, and even less so with the X-Pac. But if you think you might find yourself deep in the woods, and rain is in your forecast, or maybe you'll be far from the car and walking around Iceland with thousands of dollars worth of cameras and lenses in your bag, then yeah, just bring a pack cover for peace of mind, as we discussed in the last video. Now, I do live here in the Pacific Northwest, and as they say, it does rain just a little bit here in the winter months, so personally, I'm leaning toward the X-Pac. But I'll still use a pack cover if I'm going on long walks with this bag. Even my Peak Design backpack, which is an absolute beast in the rain, will eventually let in some water through the seams in a heavy downpour. So with any backpack, why leave things to chance when a pack cover weighs next to nothing, takes up next to no space, and costs nothing compared to the rest of your gear? Alright, last, let's talk about color. The Ripstop version comes in both black and tan. Get it? Black and tan. While the X-Pac comes in this black, a beautiful blue that I forgot to order and is now out of stock again, a lovely coyote brown type color, which glows golden in sunlight. Oh, and by the way, all of these are in VX21 spec, an earth green, which comes in the 42 spec X-Pac, which is going to be just a little bit stiffer, have a little bit more of a matte finish, and should be a little bit more durable, along with just a little bit of weight penalty. I think they all look really good, and I really couldn't decide what to get. Kind of want all of them, but for now I just decided to get the black color because it goes with everything I have. Ocean blue, unfortunately, is out of stock until the fourth quarter, and then earth green and desert brown, or what I call coyote brown, are both in stock right now. So if you want one of these bags, they continue selling out, and I recommend getting on it sooner rather than later. And if you can't find one direct from Able Carry, there are a handful of resellers around the world, so go ahead and check Able Carry's site and see if you can find one in your area. I'll give a shout out to Urban Cred, which sells a lot of cool EDC gear here in the US, and is where I got this black X-Pac from, which I bought with my own money, by the way. I just like what they're doing. So what do you think? Are you Team X-Pac or Team Ripstop? Let me know in the comments below, and if you have any questions, let me know and I'll do my best to answer them. I just want to thank all of you for all the interesting discussions that we've had by way of the comments and questions that you've left on the past couple of videos. It's great to see that we're building out a group of EDC enthusiasts who care about things like zippers and backpack materials. And it reassures me that I'm not the only one who goes crazy about this stuff. So if you want to be part of this community as it continues to grow, then be sure to subscribe for more content like this. See ya!